World building. So around 2 years ago now, I discovered what world building was from YouTube and I fell in love with it from there. So as you'd expect, as an artist, I had to try myself. This was the first thing I ever made for the world building project. And although there have been changes since, it still follows mostly the same rules. It's called the Shattered Lands. And there are 9 realms that make up the Shattered Lands. These realms are as follows: Maruva, Ymor, Hilas, Rul, Yalis, Blain, Kos, Pahala and Ibarra, and today I'm going to explain 4 of these realms for you. So let's begin. When it comes to all the realms of the Shattered Lands, Maruva is by far the largest realm there is. It's made up of 2 large islands and multiple smaller ones surrounding it. Its terrain is a mix of plains, forests and mountain, and it's a country rich with a thriving agricultural industry. The people of Maruva have a greater standard of living than most other realms. It's mostly populated by humans and dwarves, but there are orc and goblin settlements throughout the place. Maruva holds the largest empire across the Shattered Lands, and the country is governed by 7 lords. Each of these lords are children of the Lord Emperor, who resides in the capital city of Kratorum, which is being drawn in the background as I speak. The empire has sunk their teeth into multiple different realms, having stationed different outposts across all the lands. As I come to find with a lot of things I've created for the fantasy realm, it really draws inspiration from things that have inspired me in my life, such as TV shows, movies, games, and real world history. And Maruva is no different. I tried to make it feel the most like typical fantasy media, drawing inspirations from things like Elden Ring and the Dark Ages. I plan at some point in the future to make more videos on the Empire and the multiple different magic systems that reside within the Shattered Lands. But that's all I really have to say about Maruva for now, so let's move on. Ymor is the second largest realm in the Shattered Lands. It is made up nearly entirely of mountains and evergreen forests. It has a very high amount of rare mineral deposits in its land. It is the home of elves and capital of magic across the lands. It's governed by 2 main forces: the royal family of Ymor and the Dragon Church. The current queen of Ymor is a dragonborn, which is why the royal family has such a close relationship with the church. Prophets of the Dragon Church would preach their gospel to people across all different realms. They are a nation that stay strictly neutral in all outcomes. The only time they'll form pacts or relations with other nations is in hope of trade relations. The population of the country is mostly made up of humans and elves, and Ymor has the highest standard of living for all realms, hosting the largest guilds and mines out of any other country, which has led to hundreds of merchants leaving their realms and coming to Ymor for business. When coming up with Ymor, I knew I wanted to make it the sort of prosperous city that would be idealistic for everyone to come to, but also have the potential to have sort of that evil church trope I could do if I ever want to create stories based around the world. The Dragon Church is based off of Christianity, and their Jesus would have been a dragonborn who went around the lands helping people. So now the prophets will travel across the realms using their fire magic to heal and protect people and preach their gospel. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Ymor, so let's move on. Welcome to Kosf, a vast desert realm filled with giant man-eating worms and scorpions. Typical of most deserts, Kosf has sweltering heats in its mornings, but frigid colds in its night. The people of Kosf are adorned in light silkwear clothing to deal with the heats. Kosf is very rich in its gold deposits, which has led them to become the capital of alchemy. One previous ruler of Kosf was so obsessed with alchemy, he tried to create a philosopher's stone to grant him immortality. His fear of death driving him so mad that he constructed multiple catacombs across the entire country, which adventurers now treat as dungeons. It is unknown whether or not he actually made the Philosopher's Stone and achieved immortality, but some believe he has. If you find yourself lost in the desert, you best hope you find an oasis for drinking water. Although the juice of the cactuses is safe to drink, high amounts can cause psychedelic effects. When it came to designing Cosp, I knew I wanted to draw inspiration from Arabic and Egyptian cultures. The Egyptian part being most obvious with the giant pyramid. For media, it was sort of inspired by the Sand Kingdom in Mario Odyssey, the Pleiades Watchtower from ReZero, and the Badlands in Minecraft. The architecture draws inspiration from older and ancient Middle Eastern and Egyptian architecture. I knew originally when designing them I wanted to have there be high amounts of gold, so with its importance in alchemy, that's sort of where I came up with the idea for it to be the capital of alchemy. But that's all I really have to say, so let's move on to the next realm. Welcome to the Lands of Rule. Now, if you recall from the brief showing of the map, you will remember that Rule is made up of mostly ocean and a couple of small islands. It is because of this that it has one of the smallest populations across all the realms. They remain primarily closed off from all other realms, living more with themselves than others. As such, they are very self-sufficient in all their tasks. The people of Rule are always on edge, as on many fishing trips they'll get attacked by their neighbours below. On the slim chance they do interact with others outside the realm, it is more often than not for trade. They specialise in things such as gunpowder and their famous ale. They are not led by one ruler and their family, but a group of people elected. It is possible that because of this, their internal conflict rates are some of the lowest amongst all the realms. When the realm was being formed, the goddess of Rule offered the people to have her blessing and come live in the ocean. Those who accepted evolved to become the mariners, while those who did not stayed on the surface and growing their population. As for the inspirations of Rule, I knew I wanted some pirate-like society, with the architecture of old Mediterranean buildings. And yes, it is inspired by the OG goat landing spot in Chapter 1 Season 8, Lazy Lagoon. I imagine that due to the use of gunpowder, muskets and flintlocks, the people here would more than likely have a higher IQ on average. But that's all I have to say about the Lands of Rule, so let's move on. Deep in the oceans of Rule lies a civilization not visible to the naked eye. This is home to a race of people known as mariners, people who were once human, accepting the blessing of their goddess and living underwater. After undergoing centuries of magic-infused evolution, they've now evolved to still have their humanoid shape but have blue scaly skin, larger forearms and legs, and a tail to help them swim. It is unknown why, but whenever anyone who isn't one of them comes near their civilization, ships will be sunk and people killed. This has caused many problems for the people of Rule, which is why they're always so on edge whenever they venture out. But it is not only mariners that they have to be afraid of. Multiple beasts and sirens also lurk in the depths below. This leaves much to be learned about their society, and the reason they're so violent. When it came to designing the oceans of Rule, I knew I wanted a civilization to be sort of mysterious and warrior-like. It's obvious that they draw inspiration from Atlantis, but I also tried to, especially in the architecture, go somewhat like ancient Greek. And honestly, when it came to the design of mariners, it's mainly inspired from a sojourn skin in Overwatch, but also the water Navi in Avatar. As for the beasts I mentioned earlier on, I plan on at some point in the future maybe making a video on like the bestiary I have, but we'll have to wait for now. But for now, that's all I have to say on the Oceans of Rule, so let's move on. God, that really is like perfect ambient music. But look, if you've made it this far, I really do just want to thank you. It's kind of strange for me to show off my art. It feels a bit weird, you know. For the other 5 realms, I have only like one drawing left to do, and then I should be able to start pumping out that video. I might edit some of the new one in my free time as well. But I suppose it's time to do some plugs. Please like, subscribe, and check out my Twitch sometime. That's where I'm streaming games. Currently, I'm streaming my first ever playthrough of Bloodborne or Marvel Rivals Ranked. But that's all I have to say, so thank you for watching.